This is the smaller Galaxy Z Fold 8, and this is a larger, more expensive Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra. Naturally, a YouTube video is going to look bigger on the bigger phone, right? Well, actually, you're wrong. It sounds impossible, but explains almost everything you need to know about the dichotomy of Samsung's two new flagship foldables. This isn't simply a situation of two identical phones with different sizes. It's actually an entirely different philosophy on what a foldable should be. When closed, the distinction is obvious. The Fold 8 Ultra has a tall 6.5-inch cover screen. It looks and behaves much like a traditional phone, while the Fold 8 has a much squatter 5.5-inch display. It's significantly more compact, but it certainly doesn't look conventional. Interestingly, when you open them and they grow, the differences kind of shrink because the aspect ratios become a little bit more similar, especially when you turn the Fold 8 on its side. The Z Fold 8 retains around 87% of the Ultra's internal display, and it's around 2.3% wider than the bigger Ultra. And that brings us back to the video conversation. Because it's a wider phone, when you unfold it, it becomes a smaller tablet overall, but a wider tablet than the Ultra, and therefore plays wider video. And because video is 16:9 widescreen, you get less border up top and below, and so your video looks and is bigger, even though the screen is smaller. Meanwhile, the Ultra's more square display will fit more vertically, but how much do you do vertically? And if you're using a phone for vertical content, well, you'll flip to the covered display because it's simply taller. Square doesn't really fit with that much you do on a phone natively. And throwing another spanner in the works, screen size 5.5 inches, 6.5 inches doesn't really reflect screen surface area because the wider a screen is, the greater the surface area by comparison to size. So actually the Z Fold 8 screen isn't as small as it sounds in surface area terms compared to the Z Fold 8 Ultra. To understand this movement away from tall foldables, you kind of have to look at the trajectory of traditional smartphone displays, which started pretty chunky. Then they moved to around 16:9, which stuck for ages, obviously because that's the same aspect ratio as a standard video. But then they got taller as screen technology improved, bezels got smaller, and we started interacting with things like Instagram, which was a lot of vertical swiping. And over the years, they stretched out, got longer and longer, and then have course corrected back to around 19.5 20:9. So it's widely agreed that's pretty much the sweet spot for traditional phones. But back to foldables, and they started really long. The Galaxy Z Fold 2 was a mind-boggling 25:9. And now they've gotten shorter and shorter and shorter, until the Honor Magic V6 hit that sweet 20:9 aspect ratio. But now the new wave of smartphones, led by Huawei with its Pura X, and now Samsung with its Galaxy Z Fold 8, have made things even more squat. And this isn't just about YouTube videos. If you fire up the camera on the cover display, you'll get a much bigger preview of whatever you're going to capture on the Z Fold 8 than you would on the larger screen Z Fold 8 Ultra with its taller display. Additionally, typing is more comfortable because you have more width. So you have this kind of confusing period now where a cover display is going to settle on what we traditionally see as excellent for a traditional phone, or are they going to settle on what is perhaps more useful for a tablet display on the inside, which also gives you some benefits on the outside? But those aren't the only differences between these two phones. There's £200 in the price. For example, you've also got a different camera setup, 3 cameras on the Ultra, albeit one is a 3x with a very small sensor. It's a bad camera, probably won't be counting that, but still you get a higher resolution primary camera, 200 megapixels with a larger sensor versus 50 megapixels on the Fold 8, and you get 50 megapixel ultra wides across both, but still different camera setup, and you get a slightly larger battery. Both silicon carbon, but 5,000 milliamps on the Fold 8 Ultra versus 4,800 on the Z Fold 8. And there's a spec that you probably won't be able to see. Well, you definitely can't until you part fold the phone. There is no flex mode on the Z Fold 8. It's got a springier hinge and so doesn't part fold securely in place, and therefore the UI doesn't orient. Samsung says this is to ensure the flattest screen experience possible, but irrespective, that impacts how you'll probably end up using your phone, with Samsung phones historically working nicely part folded for photography, watching content on, etc. And so you may not have realized it, but with the launch of these two phones, Samsung is posing a very big question. Foldables, should they focus on the tablet experience being wide and ready for video, or should they focus on the phone experience feeling more like a phone? I'll be really curious to know what you think. From my gut, I think I would prefer the idea of the wide front screen, but actually the utility of a taller display. But I'm getting this phone into review, in fact, both of them. So watch this space, subscribe to the channel to stay on top of the reviews of the Z Fold 8 and Z Fold 8 Ultra. And if you've got any questions, anything you want me to test out, please do let me know. Like this video if you did, and have a wonderful day.